I wish people would talk shit on me. I'm sure they do. I was talking to Jeb, our mutual friend, and
Yeah.
I was like, so I like made a post and I came back on social media for like a little bit, and then like I just ended up getting more pissed off. Like nothing fucking changed. If anything, now we moved on to stuff that's even dumber. And it's
Right.
like, man, I need to just. I texted him today. I'm like, this is why I should have just stopped.
Do you know what the problem is, dude? This is the problem. The problem is, and I know you know this, so I'm not preaching to you, right? But the problem is it's when you open your homepage, it's probably other fitness accounts.
Yeah,
Like I don't follow other fitness accounts. I mean, I have some, but it's like when I open my page, it's like other side hobbies that I enjoy that are usually fitness adjacent, but like I'd have to get like a DM from you or a group chat or something else to see someone do like, hey, 3 tips to lose whatever, you know?
see, I should do that because like I
It
think
helps,
by the
dude. It
time
helps.
I'm not like at the infancy of social media, but kind of a little bit of it like growing in
Yeah.
the fitness space. And then Andrew and I had that podcast. Anyways, long story short, is
Yeah.
I added everyone, and
Yeah.
so like I end up following fitness
Yeah.
accounts, and I don't even like fitness. Like I don't know why. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not a fitness consumer. I do stuff in
Yes.
fitness, but I don't care about the tips. And then
Yeah.
I start reading. I'm like, okay, this is what we're telling people now,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, this sucks.
Well, and you know what the problem is too is like I like the game. I'm probably less jaded than you, but I get it, right? I like the game, but the game is sometimes just super lame when
Yeah,
you're like, dude, I know who you are. This is
yeah,
just like a weird like marketing thing. Like I get that we all play the game, whatever. I like the game,
yeah.
like I said. But when you can tell there's this massive gap between like I see what you're trying to do, I see who you are, like oh, it doesn't even feel genuine because I know who you are. You're like,
Well, I think that's like my biggest issue, and like I guess it's not an issue. It's just like not a lot of stuff bothered me until like people like attack like very like simple stuff that I tend to like. So obviously, when it's in my category, I like get mad, but I get mad because the area of the internet or the concept that I've tried to be in
yeah,
is like pretty cut and dry and pretty
right,
simple. And it's just like, man, like I try to like stay out of these arguments by having a bulletproof, like I don't want to say system, but like
yeah,
it's pretty fucking simple. Like let's just say walk
yeah,
more is like my name or whatever. It's like
yeah.
no one's gonna dispute that, but that's not true. Like and so I'm like, man, I couldn't have made this any easier to just leave me the fuck alone. And
Yeah, you're like, I thought this would be like totally emotionally neutral,
yeah,
and like, who knew you had like anti-walking zealots?
yeah, like they find a way to make it like bad, man.
What? So what would be an example of that? What's like a take where someone's like, well, walking, well, like, what's the anti to walking?
Why
What
would
is
you?
it?
Well, so we had this conversation. Why would you walk when you expend more calories running? Like, well, yeah, that's fine. Like
Right.
like. Did I say that was untrue? The reason why you don't run is because no one likes running, and that's not true.
Right.
I like
Yeah,
running.
yeah, yeah.
You like
No,
running?
but it's true. No, no, but it's true. It's like how many, like I'm sure you get this on intakes, like probably every third client I get is like, hey, I don't want to run. And I'm
Yeah,
like, don't worry, I'm not gonna make you run.
yeah. Like and so like yeah, if we only have an hour a day, that's all you have like forever. Like you only have 1 hour a day. What's going to burn the most calories? Well, it's not even running. It's sprinting uphill with 50 pounds on you for an hour. And you
Yeah.
can't do that. You can't recover on it. So, anyways, there's a whole argument there, but it's just like, man, can you just like, yeah. And
Well,
I had
that
to
would be
reduce,
it.
it made me think. So I had to reduce my argument, and like
Yeah.
this is kind of where it's evolved to somewhat. I don't always put this one out there, but it's like the most amount of accumulated met score. So like metabolic equivalent is just like a
Yeah.
score for how hard is an activity during
Right.
get the most mets in the given time you have in a day. Like that's the
Yeah.
number one goal because then it's not just walking, but where that falls
Right.
apart with the running and the sprinting and whatever is that you can't cumulatively do more of something that's super intense. So in a lot of
Right.
cases, walking will win out the longevity game because most people can recover from it because they're not athletes.
Yep.
So
Yeah. 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 Right. Yeah. I guess the biggest. I was thinking like I guess the biggest argument against it is time. Really.
yeah, that's the biggest
That's what
argument.
it. That's yeah. It's the only one because I have. I'll always bring it up to certain clients. Like I have a guy right now he's historically been a runner and he's in the real estate industry and he's like he's pushing. Like he's very business motivated right now. So I'm like, okay, you probably should get back to running like now. And he's like, and I'm like, here's why, and kind of like mapped out like, the time kind of efficiency of it. And he's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So he literally is like, he's running 6K or more every second day right now. Like he's
Yeah.
stacking pretty good mileage and he's just doing it. Like it's not for cardiovascular. We'll take all the benefits. Great. But like right now in a fat loss phase, it's just for him to hit his step counts. And so he can sit at his desk and work all day.
Yeah, like, and that's kind of where, like, I don't, like, tell everyone what I do. And, like, I've
Right.
taken the name Walk Marking, so I'm obviously going to, like, have some caricature around, you should walk. But, like,
Yeah.
actually, the way I like to funnel things is, like, I think exercise is, like, first and foremost. But the caveat is do the thing that you like to do and that you're
Right.
going to do and the frequency you're going to do it. So if you like pickleball, do that. But that should be number
Right.
one priority more because that's a
Right.
purpose thing.
Yeah.
Build muscle, you're building skills, but, like, it's all that. It's not an energy expenditure thing, but get that out of the way so that we can divide, okay, now how much time do we have? That's where the steps and or food would be the next layer and maximizing the steps. But everyone takes it as, well, why would I walk when I could just exercise? I'm like, you should fucking exercise. I never said don't exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. Do both.
Like, exercising builds more muscle than walking. I'm like, yeah, like, did I say it
Dude,
does?
you know what you need to do? You know what you need to do? You need to do. This might help to inject some fun back into social media for you. I have an idea. You're gonna find the clip from. You remember the movie Radio with Cuba Gooding Jr.?
Yeah.
You remember when he goes to the diner with Ed Harris and he's like, "Which pie do you want?" He's like, "Both." That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna use the meme of like, "Has to be you should exercise instead of walking." And then you're just gonna cut to like both.
But I guess, like, and maybe this is me building up enemies in my head, but it's like I put these narratives on, like, when people like say this stuff, like, what are they thinking? And it's like, do you think I'm that stupid? Like, do I seem like a stupid person when we interact? Like, I have muscle. I have a world championship at jiu-jitsu, purple belt, masters too. Like, I'm obviously dedicated enough to be somewhat good at something. I play college
Right.
football. I went to university. I have 2 degrees. I was a teacher, and now I'm a teacher again. I have a kid and a family and a wife. Do you think I'm not a complete fucking jerk off? You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yes.
I think walking builds more muscle than lifting, or that running burns less calories than walking. Like shut the fuck up. I don't know
Well, and it's
where
like,
I go in my head, but I can't say that.
yeah. Well, you said it, so you're good now. It's
Yeah.
out there.
It's,
So hopefully it was therapeutic.
but that would be an example of it. Is like, this is better than that, and it's like you could break that down a little bit, but is it? Again, injury cost of running, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Longevity. The big thing with running, if I was to look at if calories are controlled,
Yeah.
if someone isn't very good at
Yeah.
controlling calories, hunger
Yeah.
cost of like that bigger hunger than the need you need to recover
Yeah.
tends to be intuitively larger, right? And so our bodies try to adapt to that. Walking, you don't get that. You don't want to eat a cheeseburger after walking for an hour. I sure as hell want to eat a cheeseburger after running. And the cheeseburger, regardless of whether I can count calories or not, the one I want is 1,000 calories, and the run I did was 300 calories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't get that with walking. So, like, I could build that argument, but in a lot of ways, I get what people are saying. But if it was working so well, why is it not working that well?
Well, and you know what? I almost look at it through the funnel of like, kind of like it's two category thing. And this is oversimplified, but that's kind of what we do, right? It's like we get complex and then we simplify and you bounce back and forth. But it's like, if I was going to now go to the other end of the spectrum and oversimplify, it's like everyone probably needs to do two things. You're going to have to do things that build or maintain muscle. So there's going to be some type of resistance training. And then you got to pair it with something that's like low, like non-resistance training exercise. Like that's kind of how I reduce it down. It's like, so you either are like, I do calisthenics and pickleball, or I do bodybuilding training and walking, or I do powerlifting and running, or whatever your it's like you have two, do you know what I'm saying? You got two camps and you can pick and choose which ones you want to pair together.
And I kind of do this to other people because, like, sometimes I'll be like, they're like, you think I really don't want people to walk? Because I'm like, oh, you just think about diet and exercise. And my answer is, no, I don't believe you think that. But I know for a fact the messaging is, and this has changed recently because everyone is like, oh, the research has changed. But it hasn't. Like, the logic still should win out, is that you need to build muscle and be on a working out program where you're lifting to maintain muscle. When you diet, it's the best way to lose weight. You can preserve muscle, you can build it, and then we diet for fat loss. Cardio ruins the gains, waste energy, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
And like, they're like, yeah, but we would say walking is good. But actually, the case is no one actually does all three of those in terms of
Right.
like the large messaging. It's like
Yeah.
lift and eat less calories. So, but now it's like cardio zone 2 work has now brought back in, and now all the people that were like bitching about like cardio wrecking your muscle gains and yada yada yada, they're like, yeah, you need it now. I'm like, no, no, no.
Right.
Like this has always been a thing. Like, and so like the flip flopping here is kind of where like I said, I don't come from this industry, and in some respects neither do you. And it's like I
Right.
come in and I'm like, is this like the thought process here? And the answer is yes. It has to be backed by very good science to be true. And the same stuff that the lifters and the bodybuilders hold true with bro science has kind of been in the same realm for people that have like
Yeah.
intuitively lost weight or kept weight off or done endurance training. It's like, yeah, we already knew this. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Like, do you think like, so, cause, would you say then it's like a pretty big mistake then? Cause this was a common,
yeah,
kind of piece for a while, right? That everyone was saying, and people still are, right? I think it's very common, actually, I would argue right now in like women focused
yeah,
fitness circles is like the whole get strong thing, which
yeah,
is great, right? It's all cycled.
yeah,
It's the intention is awesome. But what happens is they, because there's been this demonization of like anything that's not lifting weights, they're like, every girl needs to go lift heavy weights and that's it. And then you're like,
yeah.
I can't, like, no one gets lean doing that. So I don't know why that's our recommendation of like just try and get jacked to get lean.
I
Like,
think the
unless your
problem,
genetics are already really good and you just were eating really bad.
yeah, like I get the swing. You should build muscle. And like that's why I said exercise is number one. But
Yeah.
I would argue like going to the gym and working out, like in
Yeah.
lifting weights, is probably not the number one attractive option for most people that are.
Right.
It's like it kind of sucks when you actually think about what you do in the gym if you're not from that world. To the point where I'm not even doing it. I'm like doing sports because that's what I grew up doing, and I've also been in that world. But yeah, so they've been like, well, you shouldn't do orange theory, you shouldn't go for a run, all this stuff. But actually, the problem comes back to that one piece where people just, if they're not counting calories or accounting for calories or having somewhat of a decent plan, they usually just either get on a restrictive diet and then do those things and burn out, or they intuitively eat and they just intuitively eat more than they're
Yeah.
actually expending without actually
Right.
managing it. So it ends up being one of those things where was it the running? Was it the
Right.
Orange Theory? Was it the F45? Because I can sure as hell say that, like, I would argue it's harder to lift heavy weights and be on a restrictive diet, like, long term,
Right.
because
Yes.
lifting weights burns 0 calories. Like, it's
Hmm.
not, but it's like, if we want to do equivalence of walking
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
running, lifting falls very, very far down. Because
Right.
the amount of time that we actually expend energy in a gym is very low for most people, right?
Dude, do you remember how long everyone, people still do, but like they would hammer this like post energy oxygen consumption
Yeah,
thing, right?
yeah.
And like it's a real thing. So maybe you actually know the data on it because I'm kind of speaking out of turn here, but I'm like, this has to be negligible because like no one's getting super lean just lifting weights.
No, because it's the actual expenditure of energy, like which does matter, and I think that's the big thing
Yeah.
with the high energy flux is that no one's looking at the energy out component. Again, you can make
Right.
an argument running and all this stuff, but those are like
Yeah.
outlier cases of endurance running.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
honestly lifting just doesn't expend enough calories for most people, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're
Yeah.
not controlling calories that well in our
Yep.
current food environment. The
Yep.
argument they're like, well, muscle burns more calories, but the amount of time it takes to get big, and you can appreciate this because you've been on a journey of putting a muscle. You're not a very big guy in the world of big guys.
Yes.
Neither am
Yes.
I, and I've lived
Yes.
my whole life.
I was trying for the longest time to actually be big, and it was so hard.
Hard.
Like,
I did it. I did the experiment before I had my kid. I put on. We did ultrasound. I lifted. I ended up getting to like high volume 6 days a week. At
yeah.
one point, I was doing sets of 10 with like 500 plus deadlifting, like just trying to get volume, lifting a lot.
Yes.
Put on. So I went from 220 to 242, and I put on between 8 and 11 pounds, depending on how accurate the ultrasound is, of muscle in a year and a half. Okay, and that's after not. I just powerlifting, very low volume. Like basically, I don't lift that much. Like powerlifting, you can argue you
Yeah.
don't lift that
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a
Right.
good energy expenditure thing. Didn't lift that much. That's like as hard as I can go. Like I hated lifting weights at that point. Like it sucked. It wasn't fun. All the sessions like just sucked.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
weight. I have to warm up a long time. Like 8 pounds. 8 pounds. That's like So, and I am good at this stuff. I am stupid. I'm willing to break my back to lift that much, and that's how much weight I'm putting on. You're going to tell me that Sally is going to go on your workout program, and as a newbie, there's probably some merit to that. But again, longer term. So, how much does 8 pounds of muscle get you? Probably not a whole fucking lot. So,
Well, and dude, and then you combine it with the fact that like we all don't have good like delayed gratification. So you put
right,
that onto Gen Pop, and it's like you're gonna make them wait
that
16
long.
months to lose 4 pounds of fat. Like,
I can do that because I am weird. Like
right?
most people
Yes,
like, in this industry are like that's insane. Like
yes,
it's insane in terms of what we want to do, and honestly, it gets
yeah,
us nothing. It gets me an
no,
extra 30 calories a year or a day. Like, man,
yeah,
not worth it. Like, and that's kind of like my argument. But
right.
they use so this is kind of where the influencing comes in. It's like that's the baseline for like compared to this, and I want to argue that. So you're saying time, walking, all this stuff compared to let's just say like 1 year of like dedicated exercise. You're going to tell me that that's easier than walking. It's like you're not going to. I just don't believe that because again, I would even argue that the consistency of success with the walking is going to be easier because the people that are going to be successful, really crush in the gym, is very small, very small
Uh,
for a year.
Also, dude, I just thought about this too. Like observationally, anecdotally, just from my own coaching practice, uh, I just thought about this right now too. Like, and maybe you have like the same thing, so or maybe not.
I
But
don't know.
when my clients, so I'm basically in my coaching program now. I've kind of like I've very simplified things down. Where I'm typically leveraging steps,
Yeah,
training, and food, right?
right.
And it's like kind of everyone's doing their version of that or whatever. So, but I make that very clear to my clients. I'm like, we're just moving these three things around are based on your goals, and then we'll sprinkle in some other stuff if we want to, if we need to, whatever. But my out of those three things, because that's what I'm checking in with my clients to be like, how are the big three, right? Typically, actually, food is decent in most. Like if I had to extrapolate across my entire client pool, right? Food is not bad, right?
Yeah.
You have people that are really, really good, people that struggle a little bit, and then there's maybe a couple that are like going through a season that are like, I don't know what's going on,
It's pretty
right?
good though, generally.
It's pretty good,
Yeah,
but you know where people struggle the most is the workouts.
yeah.
I have I can think of multiple clients right now where they're like, dude, food really solid, really confident, in a groove. Steps are really good. I never miss. And then they're like, I'm just struggling with the
Because
workouts.
it's
So
not
like
natural.
that even speaks to what you're saying, where it's like, yeah, they even subjectively are like, these just feel harder than getting my walks
I
in.
hate to like get like hunter gatherer thing, but it's not natural. Like it's simulated fucking like it's simulated things. Like
Right.
lift. You're like basically creating this fake thing to build this thing to offset your food environment. And so like I think it's great. Like 100%. I just don't think people like it that much. So like in terms of like even simplifying it activity wise, like and I tell people this when they like when I have my intake and stuff. Like my big three are like workout freak. Like in terms of like where are you at, the things that I want to figure out before I figure out what the highest leverage point is what's the highest amount of workouts frequency you're going to do
Yeah.
something you like. I don't care what that is.
Right.
Is it 3 times a week, 4 times a week, whatever?
Yeah.
Like that's the stable point. Okay,
Yeah.
don't care what it is. I actually don't give a fuck because in
No.
most cases it doesn't burn enough calories unless it's like something like endurance running, something that actually has a
Yeah.
legitimate energy cost.
Yeah.
Different story. But even that would be what's that? Then it's steps and food, kind of 1A, 1B. Because
That makes
again, I
sense.
think that if you put the emphasis on well, you need a very dedicated workout program, like that sucks. Like it just sucks. It's not that fun. But some people can find fun there. But like that's where I don't think that has to be the thing we focus on because I just don't think it's going to be the most successful for most people.
Right.
But the people that
Right.
is, it's great. But it still goes, okay, cool. We check that box. Now it's the next thing. For that exact reason, I think most people are pretty shitty at doing it consistently,
Mm-hmm.
unless they like it. So like it becomes just find the thing you like. That's your activity now.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Like
No, it makes sense. And that I think that's the best way to do it. Like I've even, my own journey with like this has been largely influenced by you, actually, which is good. And because I've changed kind of my opinion on like my approach. It was very like I didn't really think about it much at all before, and then I started just using it more and more in my own in my own actually fitness. And then I started using it more with clients where I'm like, okay, we're going to track these a little bit closer. Maybe we'll use this as kind of a main lever point, whatever. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, this is kind of the main thing I'm doing, and it's working really good. One of the main things I'm doing, it's working really good. Clients really like it. It's, I don't, the word easy is kind of whatever, but like it's kind of easy.
Yeah.
So at least that's the feedback that I'm getting, and based on the results people are getting, it's easy for them to check this off. So it's like what I didn't really pay too much of mind to it, and now I'm kind of the mind now, similar to I think kind of like what the message you're getting across, where I'm kind of looking at it like I can be really aggressive with steps. Like I'll tell you what I do with clients actually. So like when I'm moving them through different phases. So the way that I do it is like typically people come to me and immediately they want to lose fat. So it's like cool, put them in a fat loss phase immediately. I usually will aggressively push their steps as much as I can. Now that's collaborative where I'm like, hey, what can we do here?
Yeah.
But I push that, and the way I preach it to them is I'm like, it might, depending on how much we're doing here, it could be really effective. It could be less effective, whatever. But the point is we want to maximize this because this will keep the engine freaking rolling. Like just explaining it in terms that they're going to kind of make sense in their head. Like, why are we doing this? And I'm like, this really does help. And I want you to eat more food, not less when we do this. Okay. So we do that. And then I'm moving them into like a phase after that, some type of like maintenance or whatever, some type of non-fat loss phase. And then it's funny because like if you're just thinking about it from an energy balance perspective from food, most people would be like, oh, just move food around and whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's what I do. But also I actually keep like in that phase, I'm typically telling them to like, hey, what are you willing to do for steps? Because if you can keep them the same here, you are going to love how you look long term.
Well, and it's going to be easier. Like Lane just posted something, hey, like the average American intakes 3,500 calories. That's kind of what I peg it at. That's kind of what I eat. But if you look at our natural food environment, just their social events, just North America as it stands, generally 3,500, this is for males, I believe, is going to creep in regardless. Like it's kind of just that's the way life is. Most people are too worried about telling people they can't partake in this world. They're like, listen, you got to restrict. And like I believe that you can make a few changes and cut a few calories. I just think long-term people don't actually do it to that extent that they need to. And so bringing up, we'll just say activity, but general activity, but steps up, they can then partake in that world. And like you said, get the engine moving to meet us where we're at as a society. And then from there, leverage food. And then you're like, you'll fucking love it. Because if you can do that, now you can actually, I'm not going to say not change anything, but theoretically, you don't have to like feel like your life is shit. Because that's what you think if you follow the internet. It's like, well, you're eating like donuts and like putting creamer in your coffee and like you're eating out pizza sometimes. And like, that's the devil. Just so you know. And like you are engaging in I don't know, I'm trying to put it in the
sinful behavior.
Sinful behavior. And it's like, it's not, like, it's like that is the world. And so, like, why not bring things up as opposed to bringing it down? And I think at the same time, you can preach better food choices. But better food choices right now has gone to, like, essentially, like, you should probably just abstain from the world. And it's like, man, it's not realistic. It's just not realistic. And
that's what it is, right? It's just understanding that it's like that's going to be you're just accepting the realities of life. Where it's like, dude, it's the truth for me. Where it's like after my diet that I did, my cut that I did earlier this year, it's like I went in very conscious. I'm one of the fitness weirdos too. So it's like I don't really take quote unquote a break. I'm not always redlining, but like I'm always on. And even me, which would be the top 1%, you could say as far as a fitness person, I'm creeping, like food's creeping in, dude. I don't track my fruit some days. I don't track the snack here. I go out for 4 meals that aren't tracked. Like,
it's hard to abstain. And actually, like what changed my mind, and Jeb and I've said this story before, but so when I was trying to get big, so like I was trying to get as big as possible. Yeah. This is kind of like I was pushing high flux and stuff. Anyways, it was kind of manifesting in what I was doing because I got the walking treadmill. And long story short is, I went for 3,500 calories. I was like, I need to go to 4,000 calories. I need to be in a surplus. And I started losing weight because as my flux went up, my workouts went up, my expenditure went up, yada yada yada. And so then I had to go to 4,200. And long story short, I went from 3,500 to like 4,500 plus would kind of be like if I can get there. And that's hard for me to eat my relative lifestyle because I'm at 3,500 calories. I'm the normal person in this food environment. 1,000 extra calories is hard when you are trying. Anyway, like I could do it, but without dirtying it up too much, so to speak. Totally. All the seed oils. But anyway, so whatever. Gained the weight. Went back. I was like, I need to like lose the weight. Like this, I'm huge. Um, and so I started cutting calories. I went from 4,500 calories to 4,000 calories. Okay, this is me counting at this point because I wanted to be particular about it. I like was hungry all the time. All I could think about was food. I cut 500 calories away. 4,000 calories, I could have like 2 large pizzas in a day. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Right.
not starving for food, but it was that
Yeah.
particular nature of having to like restrict and count things and be like, I'm starting to pull things away. I couldn't handle it. You know what I did? I stopped counting. I was like, fuck this. I'm just going to do exactly what I said. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to keep doing my steps and work out and stop thinking about food, thinking about it, right? Thinking about the restriction process. And I ended up just losing all the weight. I started eating 3,500 calories because I reduced down on my food environment, which everyone's food environment is going to change a little bit. Maybe they're
Yep.
4,000, maybe they're 3,000. They'll
Yep.
average out at 3,500, but my output exceeded that. And so I could just live, right? And I didn't think about food once. And I was like, you know what? I get it now. Like, I think the process after a certain effect of counting calories in a restriction fashion long term just isn't going to work because I'm a crazy
Right.
person. And even I was like, again, I was aware and I'm like, man, this sucks. This is like, and I know it sucks, but I'm like, I'm crazy. What about the non crazy people? They're like, yeah, fuck this.
Dude, the 100%. And like this, this is the thing, right? Like the walking doesn't, going back to even what you're saying before, it's like, okay, walking might be, I guess you have to compare it to say like if it's a lot or not, like a lot compared to what, but like how many calories does it burn? I don't, whatever. Regardless of that, I noticed just anecdotally for me, dude, and I'm sure you've had this. If I go on if I go on a trip, Vegas, I just had this happen. Like I have this happen every single trip I do where I get a ton of steps more than normal. I jack up my steps, right? And also I'll do this without tracking food. So this is key for this kind of experiment here. Is like, and I'll come home and I'll be way lighter.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, what a good example that like I can free eat, totally intuitive. Now I have some pretty good skills for that, but like, dude, I'm still eating oily restaurant food most of those days, if not at least once every single day on these trips. And I'll come home and I'll be lighter. And I'm like, you
Yeah.
know?
Like, so like today will be like like I said, before this, I was like, I'm at like 15,000 ish steps,
Yeah.
17, give or take, depending on the day.
Yeah.
Which is like a lot. It's lower in winter, and it's lower if
Yeah.
I'm teaching in the classroom. But anyways, when I was doing this, so I was online all the time. Like I had like 130 clients. I was just on at my desk all day. I gave myself rest because I was intuitively eating. Like we're just
Yeah.
reduced. I'm like, this is like in my weight loss priority piece.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just gonna eat whatever. Like I know how to eat 200 grams of protein. The rest will fall where it does. You know, I averaged like 27,000 steps, and I couldn't eat enough, and I kept getting sick. And I was like doing jujitsu and walking 27,000 steps because like 4 or 5 hours on a treadmill every day equals like a fuckload of steps. Like
Yeah.
20,000 easily was like, and then my normal life. So I kept getting sick, and then I was on a call because we're writing a book with Jeb
Yeah.
and Mike T. Nelson, and
Yeah.
he's like, did you ever think like you're just like under recovering? I'm like, no, I didn't. So anyways, I've taken it to the extreme, and I basically just walk less and like ate a
Yeah.
bit more, ate more. I had to eat
Yeah.
more.
Yes.
It's like I started like not getting sick, and my weight was like stabilized. And
Dude, you're like your future version of you, the future like new brand is gonna be Eat More King.
well, and I think that gets like reduced to like I'm obviously saying that
Yes.
fictitiously. Um, it's like what the idea is you eat more than what everyone else is selling you, which is like you have to eat less. Really, I'm just saying you can kind of eat what more or less what you've been doing, minus like don't be a complete asshole.
Well, the way that I look at it too is like not just that, but I look at it as well like your depending on what your actual goal is. Like I know we're talking long-term game here is kind of the filter you're using, but even like if you go through little mini fat loss phases or whatever your thing is, you now have a lever that you can pull. Like if I'm going into my, like even right now, I go into the cut that I just started this week.
Yeah.
I just kept my steps the same, but I just didn't give, I'm now not giving myself any leeway to just miss them. Now it's like, I gotta fucking hit these, right? So that's like the only difference is I just make sure I hit them and then I pull food. Cause I'm like, well, my steps are already really high, but before it's like, you know how far I would have, now I went into aggressive deficit, so it's not a great example anyway,
Yeah.
but like if I was just going to go into your standard 500 calorie deficit, but I was like regularly hitting like 9,000 steps on average, I'd be like, man, like I really don't want to eat like 1900 calories, 1800 calories. It's like, yeah, well, if you just like doubled your steps,
Yeah.
you'd
Well,
probably like
and that's
enjoy
like,
this.
I don't even know, like, this is probably not a scientific thing, but this is more of like in practice and even in myself, is like, because we exist in a world that has whatever food cues, like our little ecosystem will have like enough sensory feedback. Like, these are the things
Yeah.
that you want, and this is where your calorie total
Yeah.
um, lands, is that there's a psychological limit or a psychological crossing point, which once you go past, you're now restricting that. And so
Right.
each point you get past that, you're like, I have to give up this and this and this. And there's like
Yeah.
this limit where once you cross that threshold, now you're legitimately dieting. Now you're in that psychological deficit. If
Mm-hmm.
and that's the same for everyone. So like mine ends up being like 3,500 calories ish,
Yep.
right? Then I'm like I'm pulling away, and I can pull that lever, right, for a long period of time, but like a lot of people can't. But if you just increase your movement, you can then increase your food, which then that psychological limit is just further away. So you can
Right.
cut, like you can just cut. You can cut without feeling like you're on a diet as long or as strong of as that diet.
Yep.
And that's the stuff with Krieger and Salazar with the with the gravitostat and putting on weighted gear and stuff. Is they essentially did that same thing. Deep bodybuilding cuts on I think I want to say like let's just say 2,400 calories instead of
Yep.
1,800 calories goes a long, long way because again, anyone who's been on that low calorie front, you have to take away certain foods. Well, if you don't have to take away certain foods, it just dampens the effect just enough to do it longer. And even if it's like, hey, I can have ice cream every day, there's a certain point in bodybuilding cuts you can't. Like you can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not
Yeah.
fucking possible. Or
Yeah.
just any cut period. Like
Yeah.
especially women, smaller women that have to get lower.
Yeah.
Well, you move the needle of activity and expenditure to give yourself 500 calories. Yeah, you're going to be tired and whatever, want to eat a little bit more, but that 500 calories goes a long way. And it's the same deficit,
Dude, huge.
same fucking deficit, just more time.
That's what I'm saying. I think that makes way more sense. It makes way more sense if you're trying to lose fat, but it also makes sense if you've already done it and you're
Yeah.
like, cool, I really want to have pizza on Wednesday and I really don't want to get fat again because I don't want to be in a deficit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy where I'm at, so I don't really want to lose weight again for another decade if I don't have to.
Yeah, like and in our book, like there's like a high flux curve, but there's also a hunger curve that looks exactly the same. And it's like that hunger level is up very high when you're low flux, so like just doing nothing.
Mhm.
So like classic dieting is usually like you end up doing less and you end up eating less. Hunger goes through the roof. Okay, it
Right.
climbs the less of a deficit you're in, your hunger kind of regulates more to intuitive, like a better regulating way. But then as your activity goes up, your brain or your body or your psychology wants more food because you're doing more. It wants to recover,
Right.
right? And there's
Right.
this influx. More activity means more hunger cues, but also less activity and less activity equals more hunger cues. In a lot of cases, people are trying to diet with less activity. We'll just say lifting and strict dieting, right? And their
Yep.
hunger's through the roof. They get a little bit more active,
Right.
the hunger is a little bit less. You still have to be in a deficit, so you have to pull away. There's some hunger
Yep.
that's going to go with that. As you move up high flux, you could do more activity and create that deficit. There's going to be a hunger gap, so you're going to have hunger. But in a lot of cases, you're going to operate better if you can match your activity to where your hunger is normally at based on your food environment. So your food environment is going to dictate how much activity you need to do. And then now you got a choice. Do I do more activity to get a deficit or do I pull away food? And if we
Yeah.
can stop people from crossing that psychological line where they start to feel just like I said, I don't want
Yeah.
to do this.
Yeah.
We're laughing.
Yep.
Like in that's the classical problem is most people are hammering the one option, which is restriction and lifting, and we'll just say cardio a little bit, and it totally works, but it sucks, and most
Yeah.
people won't do it. Like
Have you had any like is one of the arguments that you would say like maybe against this point of view is one of them like, well, you got to be careful because you're encouraging, a toxic relationship with cardio, like I got to go burn the calories off now.
yeah, like I mean they're like, well, people get crazy about steps and like sure, like they get crazy about most stuff, and like I agree, like I'm
Yeah.
not really crazy. Like that's why I want people to get to a spot where they don't have to, like, very similar to the exercise. Like let's just look at that's kind of why exercise is at the top. Pick the
Yeah.
thing that you like to do because let's just say like so I have jujitsu. Jujitsu expends calories, right? I'm crazy about it. but I'm not getting jujitsu for exercise. I'm getting jujitsu because it's fucking awesome, and it burns calories and all these things. We could say powerlifting does that for some people. Whatever. Some people like running.
Yeah.
Running expends calories, and people are crazy about it. It's when we're trying to burn calories for food that it becomes more of a problem. And so I want that. I want that to be less of the goal. That's why exercise is first. Do the thing you like first,
Right?
And then figure out how much movement do I need to match my food environment to then create the deficit. So yeah, you get a little crazy, but then it becomes a choice. And I feel like if we're looking at things that look like crazy, right? I would argue that physical activity is never, how do I say it? It's going to be less of a detrimental thing than having a food eating disorder, right? Like a walking disorder, like you could sell it however you want, but a lot of the times, like I'm not worried about that because it just doesn't end up panning out in real life. Because
I don't think it's a good argument either, but I was just trying to play devil's advocate where I'm like,
yeah,
certainly
but
that
I just
must
don't
be a
find
thing.
it happening, and a lot of times this is where it can be crazy. It's like, and there's co-variables here. You're single, like you don't have any friends, or like you're skipping events so you can go walk by yourself. Yeah, like that's weird. But in most cases, when you're doing movement, and the goal really is to increase need. It's not necessarily to go on dedicated walks. That would fill the gap, right? Or be an exercise, rocking or walking. So at that point, you could argue it's exercise, sure. But the goal is actually to get NEAT up. And steps are just a proxy for NEAT. And NEAT is just living life and doing stuff. So actually the goal is to do stuff. And usually you do stuff with people, right?
Yes.
Like, and so like in a lot of ways, it gets reduced to steps, but the goal is to do more stuff, right?
That's the best take. That's the take.
Yes. Well, and so like walking treadmill. So, and this is where I'm trying to make it so it's not crazy, right? Is you're trying to pack like NEAT. We essentially create wealth now by sitting at a desk, making money, working. We can order groceries and do all this stuff. I'm just saying be less efficient, right? And let's just say you have to sit and walk, or you have to sit and work, okay? Yeah. Now we have to start doing weird stuff because that's weird. Making money sitting down is weird, so we have to have an opposite reaction to that, which is the structured activity or structured walking. That gets a little crazy, but you could argue it's crazy to sit down all day working at a desk, right? And so certain solutions like what I'm doing, which is walking on a treadmill, this isn't a mentally fatiguing thing, right? It's here and I'm working. So there is no crazy there because I have to work. I've just created a unique solution that also doesn't have a psychological cost where trying to skirt in a little walk an hour, and like you're saying, like I have to do it because I'm in an aggressive cut. It's purposeful, right? Yep. But that's also a psychological cost that is a cost. But I mean, it's a cost because most people partake in society, which again, we have this 9-hour sitting day. And so the goal would be, can we just like, I don't want people to have to walk for 2 hours a day. I want them to sprinkle that in and just do more stuff. Park further away, go for a walk with their friends or their wife or their dog and extend that walk 10 minutes. And then when you go on a bathroom break, take the stairs to another floor and you'll be surprised at how much stuff adds up, right? That's the world example, not the crazy example, which I would do. And sprinkle this on top. If you can have a walking treadmill, you don't have to do any of that shit. If you can get this into an office and get it checked off. But that's like a Maslow's top of the pyramid.
Dude, that's a good take though. Is like I'm gonna probably echo that with some of my clients. Is like because it's easy even for me just to. It's good. This is a different perspective for me because it's easy just to reduce it down to like we're just trying to hit steps. Like it's nice because it's simple, it's measurable, but it is weird, right? So it is. You're right that it's like it's just a proxy for living life. Like you're supposed to do stuff. So like couch, desk, not living life. Like go live life, and you'll probably accumulate the movement we're looking for.
Yeah, and like accumulate movement, like accumulate life stuff that's like I want to say like evolutionarily like correct for our biology, like moving, playing, walking, lifting, doing, you know what I mean? Like where if you doing stuff like again, normal environment right now is to watch TV, right? Again, but if you're fat and you want to get unfat, is it weird to walk on a treadmill and watch TV? 1,000%. But you could argue that if fucking like your ancestors looked at you, they'd be like, that's fucking weird. Right. You know what I mean? And these are like 200-year-old ancestors, not like 1,000-year-old. They would think like even weirder, right? They're like,
Yes.
what the fuck is it? You're fucking doing nothing. Like,
Yeah.
why aren't you
Yeah.
watching TV in a squatted position? Like,
Right. Right.
there's like a whole thing on like active muscles in in resting positions
Yeah.
for hunter gatherers. It's like we even sit shittier. So it's like,
Right.
and so like whatever, but like it's all weird. That's my whole
Yeah.
point. Is like,
Yeah.
but doing stuff isn't weird. Doing stuff that's
Yeah.
active, I guess, or like moving and doing stuff. It looks weird to us because we're used right now to doing nothing.
Yes.
That's why it's weird. But
It's also not a good It's also not a good argument because, yeah, like I mean, I love gyms, dude. Like, you train at home mostly, or
I don't even train. I do like
you just do jits, like jujitsu.
yeah. I quit lifting. That was the other thing.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. So like I love the gym. Like I've always loved the
Yeah,
gym, but man, this it's weird how often this thought comes into my head. I walk into a gym, sometimes I'm like, whoa, this is kind of fucking weird.
like, but it is weird, and like, I guess the biggest knock, like, even like, so we talk about people who might have stuff against it is like, well, I'm busy, I have kids and stuff, and like now that I
Yeah.
have kids, I can be like, yeah, me too. But like, that's a good reason to get up and do stuff. You know what I mean? And I think
Right.
like if you take, I have a really sentimental one, but more movement equals more memories. But in a
Yep.
lot of ways, if
True.
we stop offloading stuff onto screens, having them babysit our kids,
Yeah.
or whatever, like you want to be, it forces you to have to figure out a way to get steps more neat, but to do stuff, and it usually just means, yeah, like doing stuff with your kids. And like
Yeah.
sometimes it sucks when you're tired to go walk to a goddamn park. You know what I mean? Like I get it, but like
Yeah.
that's the point. Is like you could not do that and be fat, or like
Right.
you know what I mean, or you could just control calories and restrict them. I would still argue that this is better, and you will definitely have a better relationship with your kids. So it all
Right.
roads ends up to like you're just trying to increase NEAT, and NEAT is just
Mhm.
anything that's not structured activity,
Mhm.
because structured activity is fake. Like you
Mhm.
know what I mean? So like it's literally just a proxy for doing stuff.
Dude, here's I don't know if you have an opinion on this or if there's even like data on this or whatever that you
Yeah,
can point to, but I've had this belief that so if you have, and this probably comes down to like mostly glycogen and maybe some
yeah,
other like small things or whatever, but if I have, 2,500 calorie maintenance, drop 500 to 2,000,
yeah,
right? So that your typical,
yeah,
if that diet, and then you compare that with 2,000 and then 500 down to 1,500.
yeah,
The 2,500, like same person, you just
yeah.
mirror them, right? The eating more and moving more, but same 500 calorie deficit, one body composition looks better.
Yeah, they have research on this,
Okay.
but like this is in our book, like the Bengali study. But
Yeah.
long story short, they study a bunch of factory workers
Okay.
from sedentary positions to like less sedentary positions to like
Yeah.
more and more and more. Basically, managers to like floor managers to people who move pallets to people who fucking lifted shit.
Yeah.
Okay? And long story short, the people who were less active, so managers, fatter,
Yeah.
did less.
Yeah.
All these people ate around the same thing because they're not like managing calories, right?
Yeah.
All the way to the middle of the activity curve. Again, they were like not fat. They were just they said they were skinny fat. This
Yeah.
study's fucking old. They're like they're basically skinny fat. Like they were not nice about it. And then they were
Right.
like basically the more activity people did, the more jacked they got. But in the weight after a certain point was exactly the same. Like they were just fucking more jacked, and more jacked. This is like an East Indian
Interesting. So
factory.
I didn't even know there was data on this because I just kind of
Well,
saw
just no
this
high flux
intuitively.
studies. This is where like even like I
Yeah.
put on like Eric Helms. I was talking about the like when we were in Costa Rica. I did my presentation on high flux, and I brought up
Yeah.
like the Amish study. They're not high flux studies. It was like it was a soil study where they studied the Amish, and I was like, I don't know, that looks like fucking high flux. And same thing with this Bengali worker situation. I believe it was like I don't know if it was just to find out working conditions. Anyways, they studied it and they basically did a bunch of metrics on it. And the Amish was the same thing, which was just like they they're like, well, we're just going to measure their body fat percentage. And I sent this to Jeb and I was like, what do you notice here? And he's like, I don't know, like there's like a 0% obesity rate. I'm like, yeah, but look at the men. They're like at 7% body fat, and the women were at like 13 or something. I was like, yeah, that's fucked.
Right.
Like that's crazy. And then they measured steps. They just had a pedometer, and they were on average like 17,000 steps a day without having steps on Sunday because it was a rest day. So like most days they were at 20,000 plus. and they were
Yeah.
shredded. They were obviously working in fields at high flux,
Yeah.
but their calories with some like other studies, generally Amish were eating like females were like 2,200, males were like 3,500 plus. They just had to eat to feed the machine because they had to fucking work, and their diets aren't that good. But anyways, they were super lean. So same thing, they did more, and they ate like we do, and they're just leaner. And then like, this is not necessarily a looks thing, but the one high flux study, one of the high flux studies actually did, it was like a 5-year long-term one. They just looked at, so they did like a, what do you call it, doubly labeled water before, and then kind of every year after. They didn't have a diet control. But anyways, long story short, there was people that ate less, right? And they did less, and they were the same weight. Long term, they actually gained weight, mostly because they did less, with kind of the thought here. And then the high flux people during it, so the people who, and not high flux, but just higher flux, they did more and they ate more, actually was predictive of weight loss. So actually eating more with doing more ended up being more predictive of weight loss long term. Again, not trying to do diet control or anything, but it kind of goes down to that fact that like people who do less long term just slowly get bigger. And you could look at that as any of those, like, I think they had that study with the, like, people don't gain weight from like hormones or long term. It's like just their lifestyle. Like, I don't know. It's like as they get older, but like if you just look at their lifestyle long term, it's like they just don't do much as they get older.
Yes, they start just moving less and less.
And really, it's just the proxy. They just start doing less and eating more, right? Because they have more money, more relaxed. And so, like, food goes up and activity goes down. It's like pretty
well, and you have a double whammy. If you're doing less, you're in the house more. You're around the snacks.
Yeah, like it's just like I said, like it's logical.
Yeah.
So our hammer right now, just as like a industry, a lot of times, like just I say as an industry, but like generally, this is like what's accepted by most people. Even people looking at this is like, yeah, like I should restrict calories and count my calories and lose. But like no one talks about the expenditure part, and they're like, yeah, people we push exercise. I'm like, not enough.
Right.
Like, and you do push exercise, but that accounts for so little for most people outside of like endurance runners, hybrid athletes, CrossFitters, like that are like not even CrossFitters, like professional CrossFitters, like people who do exercise fucking all day. Yeah. They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
Like and for real, and they do. Like, and so like we try to think, no one takes a page out of that book. They're like, that's silly, they're athletes. I mean, no, they're just doing more. Like it's actually not that crazy.
Right. And it's just a spectrum. Right, like you can take a piece of it. You don't need to be a CrossFitter. It just means the lesson there is move more. Like I think I mentioned this to you in that Facebook comment. Like something I just started to notice with my clients is like there's an obvious cutoff, which is why I started generally recommending 10K. And it's kind of funny that I do that. But like when I get a new client, kind of getting an idea, most of them, their average when they come to me is around 6 to 8. So then I'm like, perfect. 10K is going to be money for you. So like 10K ends up being my like usual start point for most people. And I laugh because I was so anti that because it was cool to be anti that because you're like, well, right? Remember it was cool to hate on the 10K and then you're like.
So like I came back from my Instagram hiatus for a little. I think that was like, anyways, long story short is everyone like discovered that like it was a Japanese campaign in like, I want to say like the 60s or something, maybe 70s. Of like selling pedometers, and they were sponsored. They were trying to get Japan bolstered for the Olympics because I think they were hosting it. Like, yeah, we're a healthy country. I mean, everyone fucking moving. like, yeah, that's true. So, like, what does that have to do with 10,000 being bad? They're like, yeah, but it's like a sales pitch. It's actually 8,000 because that's the minimum to get all these gains in health.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, but like, you're fat.
Dude, also, this is what I noticed just observationally. My clients and I realize there's a lot of variables here, so I'm just throwing this out there. But any of my clients that struggle to consistently hit 10 or above, they typically struggle more.
Yeah, because
generally anybody who hits 10 or above, they are in this separate cohort where they don't their results are almost like you could stratify. It's very clear. Like I see it. It's like 8K, 7K, 9K. Not as strong.
Well, it's a race to the bottom. So like what ended up coming out of that, with part of that 10,000 step thing was like, obviously it's like fun to make fun of it because of that. And that was like what everyone kind of based their knowledge on, which again, it ends up being a pretty good number. It's actually more than that in my opinion. But so the longevity study was like all cause mortality. You get the most lion's share of like the health gains of not dying and all this stuff from all-cause mortality, all things at like, so our average, I think, is like 4,000, 4,500, like ish, right? You climb that up to 8,000, you reduce things on par with like stopping smoking and losing weight. Okay, those are the two like biggest risk factors. Bringing your steps up can have a massive reduction in line with also doing those things. So that's where people are racing to, is to a number that is double what the national average is, which is super fucking low. And like you said, observationally, people do better when there's more. Go figure. That study said you get more gains if you walk more. Like, it's just not as fast as it was up to 8,000. So the messaging was like, well, you only need to hit 8,000. And my thing was, yeah, if you're in shape, because the two biggest risk factors are obesity and smoking. So you should stop smoking. Yeah. Cool. You should also be less obese. Well, what helps you get less obese? They're like, well, like reducing calories at 1,200 calories. Okay. Like, that's one way. You could also just walk more. So you could double whammy it. You could lose more weight, reduce the risk factor, and get smaller gains, very small. So instead of it being like, I want to say it was like 4.5% jump for every 1,000 steps past 4,500 or some shit like that, you only get, it reduced to like 0.5. Anyways, long story short, you get more the more you do. But that was one study. There was another study done in Nature where they broke it down to diabetes. They had some gut thing. Obesity was one of them, and a few other things. So they actually broke it down, saying all-cause mortality. They're like, these things. Okay? Well, obesity, go figure, kind of topped off at around 8,000. So basically, you got the lion's share of your gains at 8,000, but then people started actually getting more risk factors moving up because they can adapt to that stimulus, and so it gives it's like a less return on the thing, and so they actually got a little bit more obese, but then past 11,000 steps, it started to climb down again. So we're getting people to stop right at the spot where they can adapt to, and then again they get a little bit more obese, let's just say, but like whatever. But they stop adapting and they don't get less obese. Well, so you need to have more. And it scales with more. So like, not that the other study didn't show that, but again, 8,000 is basically, you're aiming at the minimum where all the good stuff stops to be good stuff for obesity loss. And in most of the cases, most of the people spreading this messaging are health professionals trying to get people to lose weight. So why would we have them stop at the bare minimum? That they don't do that with anything else. Not dieting, not lifting muscle. You need most muscle as possible is what you want. They're like, yeah, but you don't want to do more steps because you won't get as big of a return on your investment as muscle building. Muscle building, let's just go back to the beginning of our conversation. How much muscle are they putting on a year percentage-wise? A lot less than they're going to get a payoff for doing 1,000 steps in terms of percentages gained. I got like 1.5% a year of my bench press. A year. That's like, so at 400 pounds, I got 370. So I'm gaining like 7-8 pounds a year on my bench press.
Right.
Sweet.
Well, also, if
a lot more time.
The average person in the gym too, we all know that none of them are actually ego lifting, although they should. The intensity is incredibly low, and they're doing 5 sets of 10 that are medium hard. So it's like,
and the diminishing returns are very high for people who are highly trained. You know what the returns are for someone who's not that highly trained, who doesn't have a good workout program? They just stay the same. They're the person who benches 135, or they'll go to a max of 225 in the gym, which is like pretty respectable for like their set of 2, and they'll bench it for 2 forever. There is no return after that. So they're putting in a lot of work to get no extra return. And so we're demonizing getting more than 8,000 steps, which is like, again, that's my like take on it. But it's just like, in most health situations, why, like, again, take my corner of the industry of walking. How did I get into like bad territory by pushing more? They're like, yeah, you don't understand people's lives. There's not that much time. And I'm like, well, like time investment wise, if we want to talk about bench press, it's a lot more time to get 4 pounds on a bench press than it is to get these steps in or to get neat, and all the arguments said before. And so it's like we're demonizing 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
Actually,
also,
one thing that increases flux and makes dieting way easier. But that's the villain. It's like,
Well, and the time thing, I don't think I think that's the biggest one that people use, and it's not even that strong. Like it's real. It's
yeah,
like we all have. There's a fine whatever. It's a thing, but it's not as strong as people think. Because, and here's my take on it. Because, and I'm sure you've seen this with yourself in various aspects. I've seen it with myself. I see it with my clients all the time. They come in. I go, hey, what's your average step count? We take a look. They're like 6,500. I'm like, cool. You're gonna hit 10 starting tomorrow. And they're like, whoa, dude, that's crazy. And then guess what? 6 months later, they're working with me. They're doing 12K every day. They never miss.
yeah,
Somehow they're making it happen. And it's like these are all people that all would have told me, I don't know how I'm going to do that. How do you fit in this many steps in a day? And in their head, they're like, this is mind blowing. But like, think about anything you haven't done yet. Everything seems like you don't have room, and then all of a sudden you make room and you're like, oh, it's my new normal.
yeah. And I would argue that walking is probably a better use of your time than lifting in most scenarios because it's context specific to what do you need to do. So like this again, I use their arguments against them, but like fitness professionals like, yeah, like elderly muscle, like the highest risk of death is like fall. Because you can't get back up and they go to the hospital, get sick, whatever. It's like, you need muscle to do that. I'm like, well, like they actually just need to learn how to get up and off the ground and walk, which is something that like if you don't do, like it's probably easier to just do that. Mm-hmm. So like again, it just outperforms on so many levels. And I'm saying that from someone who like thinks it's dumb. Like I get that it's dumb, and I would much rather not walk. But it's just like I don't get the arguments against it, and for that same reason, which is like it's not that hard, and like I would argue that most stuff is harder. Driving to the gym, changing, like having to not know anything about lifting and have to trust the professionals, more money, yada yada yada, and then that goes into like you can make an argument for rucking and best work that you can enhance that, but like I can make an argument for the fact that I think walking would outperform structured exercise on most levels, and then on the scale of movement. We'll just say anything that's moving, running, biking, like any of these like things where it's like, okay, whatever, like great, put that in. Those are going to outperform lifting the gym in most scenarios because you don't just lose muscle like doing stuff. Like, yeah, if you overdo it, right? If you eat in a calorie deficit and you run a lot, yeah, you'll lose some muscle, like you will. But that's because you're not eating up the calories to recover. So like that's even an argument for high flux. It's like, well, then you should probably eat 5,000 calories. Like that's the best way to like preserve your muscle. And it's like, well, now you don't have to diet. Sweet.
Can you? I should have got you to do this before, but can you like define high flux? Like, what is it?
Yeah. So like the easiest way to explain it is just like flux is just if we have an equation of energy in, energy out, it's just a higher energy in and a higher energy. So flux is just energy in to energy out. It's that flux from going in to out. Higher energy flux would be more energy in, more energy out. This could be in a deficit, in maintenance, or in a surplus. Basically being in a surplus, more energy in, more energy out, maintenance, same thing. And then lower flux would be the same equation, just doing less and eating less. In all of those equations, you can be in a deficit, maintenance, or a surplus. Right, and so it's just my argument is always like, which one do you want to be? Do you want to be Chad who eats? This is your argument, or not argument, but situation. Like, do you want to be Chad who eats 2,500 calories, or Chad that eats what I usually use 2,000 and one. Or I usually use 3,000 and 2,000. Okay, but 2,000 calorie Chad or 3,000 calorie Chad, both are in a 500 calorie deficit. It's like I'm going to argue that 3,000 calorie Chad is going to win every single time because he can have fries and wings.
Right.
That's it.
Or he's a little psycho and he doesn't, but he gets his goal sooner.
Yeah.
Probably what'll happen, to be honest, because he might even like I know he's in the same deficit, but like even if we kind of talk practically speaking, someone in that case like may end up missing a meal here and there. Like that happens too in a fat loss phase, and then all of a sudden you're in a massive deficit 2 days out of the week.
And it's from a negative space. Like I'm usually like a glass half empty type of person. I don't believe people are going to change their environment long term, like to a drastic effect. Okay, like the weird people will, like the people who can have control of it. We live this life again. Your life doesn't look like your clients. Like it doesn't.
Yeah,
you can cut things out, whatever. Like, but most people aren't going to cut their kids out and their kids eating ice cream, right? They're not going to not go to like work meetings and stuff. And long story short is they're not going to make a lot of changes. They can make a few changes, but it's coming from a negative place. I don't think most people can do it because they're not Dave Goggins, right? They're not weird enough to like cut a lot of stuff out. So that's where I'm starting. Okay. Again, if I believe that, well, then the one thing is like, I don't think restricted calories is going to work if I don't believe they're going to do it long term. Because in most scenarios, my working is I believe people can lose the weight. I don't think they can keep it off. And so that's where we have to meet people where their food environment is at. And that's my argument for high flux is that if you do not bring your energy out up to where you're probably going to fall at, even with all the checks in place, let's just say you keep a few of your tools that you did because you counted calories and you realize there's more calories in oil and peanut butter than you thought. And like when you bake cookies, it's like double the calories. Cool. Like you got that basic information out and you've reduced a little bit because you're like, yeah, I can make some smarter choices. Where is that number? Where do you need to be at? If you don't bring flux up to that, you have no fucking chance. There's no chance. I haven't seen anyone do it. Not one person has restricted calories because what they do is they think maintenance is this place where they just, well, we'll just do maintenance calories and we'll increase calories and we'll reverse diet and da-da-da-da-da. No, like you put on, there's like a little bit of an adjustment, right? You can eat a little bit more. But generally, no, the amount of food you ate to get there is how much you need to stay there for the most part. You don't magically add in 1,000 calories without 1,000 calories of expenditure. And let's just say
like you gotta build muscle. You gotta spend time there. You'd have to like it would take forever.
Like your metabolic adaptation, I don't know the percentages, but it's like not that much. So in a diet, so when people diet, like their metabolism slows down a little bit. We're talking like fucking peanuts, man. Like and so when they rebound up, like let's just say it's 200 calories on a high note. Okay. Yeah. So you've recovered and now you burn up 200 calories extra than you were when you're dieting. Okay, cool. Yeah. You added 200 calories in. Well, you're still at 1,400 calories and the norm in your environment is 2,000 now that you've adjusted those 200 calories down because you realize there's too many calories in peanut butter. Fuck, you're a long ways away. Right? And people gain it back. Like it just never fucking worked. Ever.
Yeah.
Even most bodybuilders, they like, man, they are ravaged with eating disorders and gaining weight and feeling shitty about themselves. They can't even do it. Like, I haven't seen one person. Find me someone who does it that's not autistic, right? No, that's a real thing. Like, take out the outliers, like the one person Okay, after that,
right?
How many people do you know? No.
Because you got to speak through general recommendations. Like even like what I'm, because I would align very closely kind of with your approach here, especially when you consider the filter of long term, right? It's like nothing's done in the sense of like, what's the goal in 4 weeks? What's the goal in 12 weeks? Like, what's the goal in 6 years?
I am 100% on board with that. If like you said, if we're living in reality of expectations, like you're.
Exactly. Yeah. Cause like even so for me right now, I was talking to Paul O'Neill about this yesterday. I was like, because like I'm in an aggressive deficit right now, but like to be honest, dude, it's only other fitness coaches that notice that. Like they paid attention to like, wait, where was his maintenance at? What was he eating? Oh, he dropped 1,000 or whatever it is. It's like I'm not really like I'm not. I mean, I'm saying it right now on my YouTube, I guess, but like just because I'm open about it. But like that's not like a marketing piece or a message I want to. I'm using to leverage in some point where it's like I'm doing a massive I'm literally like this is not optimal. Like I'm doing this because it's first of all it's 8 weeks, so it's not that long. That's number one. Number two, I'm kind of looking at it like the last diet that I did was the leanest I've ever got, the hardest I've ever done it. So I'm like, okay, I was in pain for 2 weeks out of the 12.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm kind of just doing a David Goggins thing here. So I'm like, I'm kind of just going to test, see what I noticed, what I observed, and then I can apply this or tell my clients this is retarded. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I'm using it for. I'm not using this. I wouldn't tell a client to probably go this aggressive. I'd be like, hey, this is the size of the calorie deficit we need. We're going to drive it up through pushing your steps up, and we're going to pull food back to here. You'll be hungry, but it'll be very manageable. And here's what we should lose each week. It's going to be pretty – you're going to have your 2 free meals a week the way I typically do with everyone. It's going to be pretty simple, you know?
Yeah. It's a mental fortitude test. And, like, honestly, most people are going to fail that. That's why they have the army. Like, they cut people out of the army because they don't cross these certain thresholds. Like, you know what I mean? And that's the dieting thing. You're just proving that you can do that. But that shouldn't be the hammer. because
Yeah,
now
like this isn't like exactly. It's like it's a mental fortitude test. This is not like a general diet recommendation of like this is the right way to lose fat. It's like no,
like that's where
my
this information came
system.
from. Though. Like that's you know what I
What's
mean. Like
that?
that's kind of how it's evolved. Like you go back
Yeah,
to the old forums, a lot of the information came from bodybuilders, and then we had if it fits your macros, and it was like calorie control, right? Got to
yeah,
control your calories, count your macros, yada 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 yada. But like that looks a lot like your process. So your process right now is where most people are still stuck in. Let's just say it's not as aggressive. Okay, it's not 800 calories. It's 500. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
um, that is the fucking process. So you
Right.
do stuff where you do habits and like you do a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But if you told like what you're doing now is what the norm people think is like the gold standard, and that works. But now again, like, if you put the longevity thing on it, how many people kept it off? Like again, I can't find anyone. And
Well,
like
also, not even just that. Like, I'm fully anticipating that in this cut, like, it's weird because I don't really want a self fulfilling prophecy here, so I'm careful of what I'm expecting. But at the same time, to be reasonable and realistic here, out of these 8 weeks, I'm expecting like the next like 3-ish weeks to kind of get a little gnarly a little quicker than I even expected. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, like it's
And
it's, it's a mental fortitude test. Like you're basically restricting, like you're cutting stuff away. And the second
And
you
I don't think I'm going to see better results than if I had just cut 500 calories and maybe did 14,000 steps or something. Do you know
that's
what I
what
mean?
I did. Like I like again, like
Yeah.
I was losing the weight. I just like hated it,
Yeah.
and so I was like, oh, fuck this. Like again, this is the merit of tracking, and even going through a process of an aggressive cut or an aggressive gain, right?
Yeah.
And doing it, managing and micromanaging calories and expenditure, is that you
Uh-huh.
get that information. But how long does that take? 3 months? 3 months to become an
Yeah.
expert? Like how,
Yeah.
how how long does it take to know all the foods in your life? It's not that fucking long. And so
Right.
that's the only tool that we can use. The tool is literally designed to open your eyes on what's in food because our evolution has dictated that we can seek out high calorie items that are single ingredient. Hunter
Yeah.
gatherers, we see food, we just intuitively know shit. We know how to pick berries and stuff. We know that there's
Right.
tons of calories in honey. Fuck, there's a beast. I want to eat that beast. Whatever. That's kind of like our process. Well, the
Mhm.
second agriculture boomed, we had the Industrial Revolution, all that shit, processing food, yada, 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 yada. Now we have cake. Well, you give a cake to fucking in South Park, fucking buddy in Africa, he has no idea how many calories is in it because he knows that there's fucking like potatoes are good from the ground. He doesn't know
Yeah.
that there's 2,000 calories in 4 pieces of that Dairy Queen cake. Our
Yeah.
pickers are off. That's all counting fixes. Is that it's like here's the information on what's in modern food
Right.
when you add processing and mix ingredients. That's all it does.
Yeah.
From
Right.
there, you can do what you want. The difference is that we have those options at our fingertips and it can be delivered to us. Again,
Yeah.
most third world countries, and that's even stopping now, is that they don't have a lot of these problems. And there's actually not that many places that don't have these problems anymore because it's
Mm.
just it's fucking taken over. And so
Right.
again, like I don't know, that is what it does. Anyways, the rant ends up being like so. Again, we have to just not partake in that. Well, we've created this problem. I believe that the solution isn't to not partake because I just don't believe people aren't going to do it. It's just too easy, and it's a great problem to have, right? It's
Right.
just I don't think that layering on tons of restriction at a certain point, restriction stops working, and I believe it's a lot sooner than most people think. I think they can restrict like 400 calories out of their diet. Like that's it.
Right.
Like long term, I think like there's a few changes that you can make when your eyes are opened. Hey, I just won't eat out as much. Like I will have
Yeah.
one beer instead of three. Again, instead of having 5 pieces of pizza, I'll have three. And peanut butter, you know what? Like I'll have like a little bit less. So whatever, like the normal things. Hey, when I put on oil, I'm gonna get the sprayer instead of
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're saving
Yeah.
400 calories max,
Yeah.
max. Like and Ben House had this statistic. It's one of my buddies. Was like people are gaining on. I can't remember the breakdown of it, but we're talking like they're eating maybe max like 70 calories more a day. Like when you add up the math of people gaining long term, they're
Mm.
not like eating 1,000 calories over, right? And so I don't think we have to have this restrictive micromanaging of macronutrients past the basics
Right.
because it's just not gonna. They're just not gonna do it because weighing and measuring everything like, let's be honest, it sucks.
Right.
No one thinks it's cool. They think it's cool for
Right.
the first little bit when you do it, but like it sucks. And
Right.
you have to do this forever.
Right. No, that's kind of the angle that I've been moving into as well, which is why like having deliberate the way that, and this is probably how a lot of coaches set it up, I'm assuming, but I'm starting to kind of move away from this in certain like having, I think most people from a fitness coach perspective, when they look at like, okay, people hire me, Gen Pop, body composition goal, weight loss,
Yeah.
muscle gain, whatever, right? So through that filter, most people are like, well, we either have a strength phase, a muscle phase, a fat loss phase, or some simple shit like that, right? The way that I've kind of been doing it now is like, I have a fat loss phase. I do it the way that I do it. Now I leverage steps way more, and it works really great. Everyone says the same thing for the first 3 weeks. This doesn't feel like a diet. I'm like, awesome, because they're eating so much fucking
Everyone
food.
says that again.
It's great. It's awesome, right? And then they get hungry, and then they're like, okay, I get it. This is I can do this, but it's there now. Cool, whatever. Cost of doing business. But then the other phase is what I've been starting to do now. Instead of like, cool, here's your meal plan again, or here's your macros. You're just going to eat more food. Instead of that, now what I started to do is like deliberately add way more flexibility. So now it's like, okay, during a fat loss phase, the goal is fat loss. I don't care about it's. I get very David Goggins pro discipline type dude in those phases where it's like, hey, we want precision, we want to be aggressive, but outside of this phase, we want to talk about food flexibility. We might deliberately get you to not track your fruits and vegetables, just have a shit ton of them. And maybe you don't track at all, or maybe you track 3 days a week. Like some clients do really well with like structure. So it's like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe you're tracking. Maybe you don't track at all. Maybe you track 5 days a week or whatever it is. Or maybe you track every day, but again, you're tracking protein and calories, and then literally fruits and veggies have as much as you want. So like, I feel like you have to have those in there. But again, for that to work and not get fat, even if it's healthy food, in my opinion, you probably have to move.
Yeah, and I think like having a dedicated, like especially if people are paying for a service, I think that the dedicated fat loss phase, or at least a portion where like you're strict, tells you so much information, because a lot of people try to be flexible before they have the intuitive. We'll just say before they have the skill and wisdom of like what they're being flexible about. Like until you know, it's hard to be flexible, because it's like, well, like I just do these things because I know they're good, but like you don't. How much, right?
Yes.
And so like again, that's where I'm flexible in a different way. I work for a company that does macros, so again, like I know the game. I'm fucking sitting right in it, trying to work within it. Is that hey, let's get to a point where we stop losing weight using normal methods. Like we'll have a normal cut, do calories, and figure out where your steps are at. Okay, now you've hit a plateau. What's a plateau? You've been actually accurate for more than 3 weeks and you haven't lost weight. Cool. Okay, which lever do you want to pull? I don't give a fuck.
Right.
like you want, like here's the cost of pulling away food. Like you might be good at 200. You might not. You might maybe 500 is where you start to balance off. So let's just take 200. Do you want to do steps? Here's the benefit of steps. Well, there's all the benefits, except the negative is time. Maybe you can exercise more, but in most cases, I want people to maximize exercise at the start, because again, I think increases in exercise are much smaller increments than steps and food, right? Because you're not going to just double your exercise, but you could double your steps easily, right?
Yes.
You can't recover from going from 20 miles a week running to 40. Well, I'll just add another 20. It doesn't fucking work like that. Like neither does lifting. I'm just going to go from 3 times a week to I'm just going to up it to 3 times a week for 4 hours a day. Doesn't work like that. So anyways, that's why I keep that out of the equation. And then, that's where my flexibility comes in, and how you do food. I would prefer people not count. Again, I'm on a system that uses it. But I think if you can get them transitioning to at least protein and just like utilizing food skills, that's where the people I find that do better are the ones who don't skip events. So, and what I mean by that is if you're in a dedicated fat loss phase, basically you have to say no to a lot of stuff, or bring chicken to your Vegas trip or whatever. I think if people learn how to game plan, how to deal with conferences, holidays, meetings, family get-togethers, Super Bowls, I truly believe that's where most people gain all their weight every year, right? Because I don't think people eat that bad. I think they eat bad at those things. So if they learn how to game that within the flexibility system, very similar to you have, basically, can you use steps or can you eat less somehow, some way? Figuring out that equation. If they fix that, they're good, because the steps can take care of the rest. In a lot of cases, because again, I think that most people's diet problems is and layer on snacking is just like those things. Everything else is pretty fucking good. That's where I'm.
Dude,
That's where I'm at.
that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm like, I think long term, it essentially like, you know how it is. It's like the attraction for my clients and anyone's clients, really, assuming they're serving similar people,
Yeah,
is going to be like, hey, I'm fat, I want to be lean.
yeah.
So, and there's going to be an element of that. So, you know, I deliver that, and I'm delivering it at the best I've ever done it. I'm very happy about it from a coaching perspective. My clients like it. I'm like, cool. But the move is to like get them super lean, get them to a point where they learn a ton about themselves, being hungry and kind of like going through that restriction phase, but understanding this is temporary. I'll teach you how we can sustain this long term. But like get that buy-in and then transition them into this position where then typically they'll ask me, hey man, do I have to track all the time for the rest of my life? I'm like, you can make the rules what you want. There's just trade-offs.
Yeah.
So like you can totally count every day, every gram for the rest of your life. Here's the trade-offs. And then I go, you could also count 0 times. You could also count sometimes, or you could also count part of the year, or you could also count half of the year, or you could count 1 week out of the year, or you could count 12 months. Like, you can make up the rules, and I'll help you make up the rules. But I'm going to tell you, here are the trade-offs. Here's how it works. Here, like, what do you want to do? Do you know what I'm saying? And then here are kind of the rules. So that's where it's like, we need to get steps up. You're going to have to exercise / lift weights. And like, here's what we do around food. What do you want to do?
They need to be pressure tested for their life, right? Like what they're actually going to do. And what I find, and I say this all the time, is that counting calories doesn't guarantee weight loss. Not counting calories doesn't guarantee weight gain. Like these are things that are made up. These are made up, right? Like, the reason why we have these sentiments is because the people who aren't tracking calories generally are like normal people who are obese, but that's not true. There's people who don't track that. Like it's just the sentiment that has come across. Well, all the people that track have lost weight. Not long term. There's not one. And so like in terms of like long term tracking doesn't actually pan out when we look at real life. And so again, you can do it however you want. There's also the thing like most people underreport. So like tracking is like only really good if you're doing it well. And so that's why like dedicated fat loss phases, whether you're trying to gain or lose, or dedicated gaining phases or losing phases, is like it's honestly just information. What you do with it, then you get to create your own rules. Once you know, like I'm a believer in like once you know and we've hit you in the face with it, like as long as you're an active participant, like you have the information. You are now a diet coach.
Yeah.
This is like, in terms of like classic diet coaching.
Yeah.
You learn what a protein is, what a carb is, what a fat is, and what those are in foods. That's pretty much it.
And how to achieve a deficit. You're like, you know how to do it.
Yeah. Like, again, sweet, that wasn't that hard. So, like, and you know what I mean? And that's the main hammer is like, well, like, just tell people that. So anyways, like, but like, that's the truth. And so, like, it doesn't really work because it's never been hard. It's just hard in application because, like you said, people expect that they, like, do I have to, like, that's a normal question. Do I have to count for the rest of my life? They believe that, right? Until you tell them otherwise, like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of, I guess what I'm fighting is, like, that part of it. And the high flux argument is the opposite of that, is like, do I have to count for the rest of my life? But it's do I have to eat less forever?
Yes. Right.
I'm like, I'm just the opposite of that. It's like, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Here's what you do. Like,
well, because that's the worst. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a horrible trajectory. Like, I mean, you're surely not going to sell me on it. Like, and I'm a weirdo. I'm the fitness weirdo. And like, you're not going to sell me on like eating. I'm not even, and I'm also not even food motivated, dude. Like, I'm not a food noise guy. So like, but at the same time, I'm still not going to get sold on fitness if you're like, yeah, so you're going to get really lean and then you're going to be hungry forever. I'm like, dude, I don't want to live my life like that.
That's what a calorie deficit is. You know who's hungry? People in a calorie deficit.
Right.
The only caveat is like, I don't find it happens that much when you're actually legitimately high. Like, so when you're in a deficit past that psychological threshold that I'm talking about. Yeah. I don't like you said, this is way like the sentiment you get is like, this isn't that bad. It doesn't even feel like I'm on a diet. I find that happens if we can keep calories for the most part in and around that place right before their life starts to suck because you told them they can't drink. Right. Whatever that, like, that's the metaphor, but like whatever that point is, it's like that's when stuff starts sucking. They're like, well, I'm gonna have to like, because no one truly wants to change their life. They've had a whole childhood of being raised a certain way and seeing certain things and watching those commercials we did about cereal. I still eat fucking cereal at night with milk, and I love it. Like when the cereal milk is all like the cereal stuff, like that has nothing to do with evolution or whatever. It's just like, fuck,
Yeah.
when I watched those commercials as a kid, and I still
Yeah.
want those easy bake ovens where you make the gooey worms. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I can't have that. But the point is that we had a whole life of this stuff, and I feel that when there's enough friction, we call that psychological place, but when the friction becomes enough that they have to actually like truly make these massive changes, I don't think most people do it. They turn and run because the answer is, well, like you should live like I do.
Right. Right.
They're not or they go move to somewhere different. I've seen
Yeah.
tons of people actually like have a whole new outlook on health just moving to a different continent.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's a legitimate change in food environment. So most people just aren't being pulled out of these places. They are stuck in it and said, you have to live within this and do none of it. Like, fuck, man, that's hard.
Yeah. No, I think that's one of the biggest pieces to like long-term sustainability, dude. I kind of have two layers that I look at fitness through, to be honest, with like the people that I work with, where it's like you have short-term body composition goals and then you have like long-term health goals. And I get that they overlap, right? So you have long-term body composition goals too. But when we want to like change body composition, it's kind of like a now problem is how I look at it. And then like cardiovascular health, fitness in general, overall health, like quality of life, that's like, to me, that's like the long goal. And it's like, how do we're going to pull levers that are unsustainable by definition, and that's okay for these like short term. And then we have to make sure that we're like letting those levers go at some point and then transitioning into this long-term thing. Like otherwise you perpetuate this thing of like, everyone really is really, really good at losing weight, and I just help them lose weight, and then they gain it back. I'm like, what did I really do? They just like did this thing they did before, but in a different way.
Coaching the people who like I like coaching powerlifters and CrossFitters and endurance, like people with like specific goals that you get to be like, yeah, it's fucking simple. Calories in, calories out. Love it. Fucking easy. That's like how my brain is wired, and I have all these views about this stuff. It's like the same thing as like I coach football. I play college football. I've coached at a very high level. I played at a very high level. I like coaching higher level things. Okay.
Right.
If I I have a child now that's a boy, and he may or may not play football, but if he plays football, I'm gonna probably hate a lot of it because it's so low level. But all the certain things, if you're a good coach, you know what makes good coaching, and it's not the high level shit.
Right.
It's the basics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I don't know. Like, I think that everyone got it backwards because they're, again, like, again, I'm saying that because I don't like this stuff.
Right.
These lifestyle things is like not, like, it sucks talking about it because, again, the sentiment from other fitness professionals, like, wow, that's like soft, da 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 da. But I'm like, yeah, but you're wrong. And I like how you live. It's like fist bump. So it's like I'm living in two different worlds.
Yes.
But again, we have to understand that these people don't live in that world.
Well, you're doing a good job of and to be honest, I think I do a pretty good job of this too, but I can tell like talking and watching you and seeing how you like your philosophies and whatnot. It's like you do a good job of disconnecting and decompartmentalizing between like, I live my life this way, my clients don't live life my way. Getting them to live their life my way is unrealistic, so I kind of got to figure out a thing that works for them.
Or I could just do what most people want to do is like, well, I want to coach pro athletes, but I don't have any pro athletes because I suck. And so like, I'm just going to treat everyone like pro athletes. It's like, wow, like,
Right.
But like, that's the sentiment is like, well, like essentially the diet industry, for better or worse, is like classic bodybuilding. Even this walking thing in the zone 2 cardio. You know what they called that? They called that walking on a treadmill before and after the gym, after the workouts.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it all looks exactly the same. Nothing has changed.
Yes.
And it's like,
it's just repackaged.
Yeah.
I gotta run here in a couple minutes, but what's the deal with this book? When's this book coming out?
Soon. It should be coming out soon. We actually are in final editing process of it. So like Dr. Mike T. Nelson, PhD, owner of Netflix and the flexible dieting, all the fucking million courses. The smartest guy I ever have known ever. And Jeb Stewart Johnson. I don't know if you haven't had him on this yet, but I mean,
no, but I'm gonna.
But he does a lot of like the mindset stuff. But like we're essentially writing a book on high flux because as much as like I'm very heated about this type of topic, it's actually not that big. Even the walking thing has been shit on, and it always gets passed over. because again, the strong messaging is like, well, we do things this way, and the gym is the fucking where things are built, and the kitchen's where you lose the weight. And again, this whole book is like, wow, like that is true, but it doesn't work. Outside of the 12 weeks
Right.
where you want to be fucking hammering it and treating yourself like
Yeah.
a pro athlete, it's just not going to stick. And I
Right.
know that because everyone knows that. If they truly soul search and ask themselves that question of how many people do I know that do that forever?
Yeah. What's the book called?
I think the working title is Get Fluxed.
Dude, same as your newsletter?
I think so. It's yeah. Like basically, it's my way. Like again, I have my coaching business and I teach.
Yeah.
I just do a bunch of stuff, but like I like come into this industry and basically I want to tell everyone to get fucked. And so flux worked exactly.
Dude, that's
perfect.
funny. So depending on when this, do you want to do like, cause I realized I didn't really talk to you about the book that much, but like we can talk about the book on the next, whenever it comes out or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we're.
but that was good because that's what I wanted to kind of get into is like, you do a good job, like kind of hitting everything from so many different angles on this. Cause I think this is it's kind of an esoteric topic that's weirdly matters, but no one really talks about when it comes to
No
the
one talks
fitness
about it,
world.
and like honestly, like I'm like one of those people that's in and out of this industry. I actually just don't like being in it. So like,
Right.
that's why I think of like again. I wish I was more popular than I am. I believe that I have a very sound way of thinking about this stuff, and like every time I come back, I'm just like, man, nothing's changed. Everyone's stupid. I know they're not stupid, but it's just like,
I
man.
honestly, I like, yeah, I mean, I like your takes. It's good. And I mean, it's had a positive influence on me and my coaching. Like, I mean, my clients wouldn't really know it, but like you've positively influenced my coaching. Cause like I didn't look at steps the same way. And now it's kind of a big piece in kind of how I leverage these results. And right now it works really good. So I'm like, this is fucking sick. Right.
I thought
You know what I love about it, dude? It doesn't just work for the short-term lever I was talking about because it does and I use it, but it really is awesome for like I have clients right now that are in like a longer term kind of maintenance and they're kind of working through the challenges of that, which is weird because it's like different goals, kind of not a goal, kind of weird. Like I got more food to play with, but they're also like I don't want to get fat, but also like the scale's up. Like I got to work through that, but like that's where I mean this figuratively. That's where the money is. You know what I mean? Like that's where they are going to actually win the game of fitness is in those phases. Like they've already lost the weight. Everyone thinks that's the sexy time. It's like, yeah, you look awesome. You make changes. You're obsessed with the scale. Like everyone sees the dopamine then, but the winning the game is like talk to you in 2 years. Are you still looking and feeling
They
dope?
just punch
You know?
the ticket to play the game. Like that's kind of how I look at it. And like
Yeah.
coaching practices, I try not to start there. I try to layer this on, but regardless, I think like it gets reduced to walking. But walking is just one of the tools to push flux, and flux is really just
Right.
doing more stuff. Like and that's where the book will be
Yeah.
different than my Instagram. Like I just kind of like
Yeah.
simplified it, but like like, you need to do more. You need to
Yeah.
do more, and you probably
Yeah.
need more because you're not going to eat less. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, dude, I'm on board with it, man. I'm excited for. I'll be definitely reading this book, so that'll be dope. Do you? I'll bug you for whatever you want me to put in YouTube description or whatever. But do you want to tell people where to find you if you want them to go somewhere?
It's the embarrassing part. Walk.more.king.
It's the best part, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
And then getflux.ca. It probably works at .com too.
Okay.
GETFLUXED, I think.
For the book or newsletter?
That's the site that has the newsletter. I think the book is going to have 2 X's.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Get fucked. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
So you can't like pre-order the book or anything?
No, I think the way we're going to do it, I think, because Mike's already gone through this process with triphasic training, too, is that we'll probably just self-publish through Amazon. I don't know how big it'll get, but it's more of like we need that document out. That way, I just don't have. I can just be done with it. It's kind of and use that as a starting point for a lot of stuff. Again, we're piggybacking off a lot of things. I think we have a pretty cool forward coming. So I'm pretty pumped. I think again, similar to like my concept is I don't want people attacking me for dumb stuff that I think they're wrong on, and I feel like this corner is like unbeatable, even though I know that's not true. It's like I'm trying to like make it not arguable.
Yes, right.
As much as possible. And so,
Dude. Well, when the book comes out, let me know because we'll do another one of these. But yeah, no, I appreciate having you on, dude. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, sweet. Let me know when it's out, and I'll share it because I can tell.
Definitely will, dude. Thank you.